Hey, what's up, everyone? We are live and ready for another exciting edition of Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to hanging out with you for the next little while and answering your voiceover business and marketing questions, whatever I can help you with. That is always the objective here for these Free Advice Friday live streams. So looking forward to spending some time and looking forward to the questions that you have to ask and hopefully doing my best to answer as many of those questions for you as I can. So thank you for joining for the first Free Advice Friday live stream in April. Now, I wanted to touch on something that a lot of people have been asking about recently, and that has to do with LinkedIn. There are a lot of people with a lot of questions about what is going on with LinkedIn. There was a change that was made recently that has been a very frustrating change for a lot of people, and that has to do with LinkedIn's personal notes. So you may know, if you've been using LinkedIn for a while, that LinkedIn strongly encourages, or at least in the past, have strongly encouraged that if you are going to send a connection request to somebody on the platform, that you make sure that that connection request includes a personal note. So when you go to click the connection button on LinkedIn, you'll see that little pop-up and it gives you the option to add the personal note. And LinkedIn has always encouraged that with that personal note, it leads to a higher acceptance rate of connections, which I understand. And so that's one of the things that they have always encouraged people to do. Recently, LinkedIn decided that they were going to actually limit the number of personal requests that you can send. So on one hand, you've got a platform that is saying, this is what we want you to do. This is what you need to do. We want you to send these personal notes with your connection requests. And on the other hand, they're now saying, by the way, we're going to limit the number of these that you can do to 5. So you don't have to think too hard about it to realize that this is obviously an attempt by LinkedIn to get everybody to sign up for one of the higher tiered packages on LinkedIn, which, by the way, are incredibly expensive, especially compared to the price point of entry for a number of the other different social media platforms. But this whole thing is just trying to get you to sign up, right? They're trying to frustrate you to get you to sign up so that you will be able to send more of those personal notes. But here's where I think that we're going to be able to get away with this. And this is my own personal observation, but it's also as a direct result of some conversations with some people that I've had as well. So everybody knows that this change has been made. Everybody knows that you can only send 5 personal notes a month now. And as near as I can tell, everybody is incredibly frustrated by that shift. And so at this point, I would say if you are sending LinkedIn connection requests and the personal note is not included, people are going to understand why the personal note is not included, because they're experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing. That is, they can't send the personal notes either. So where does that leave us? When you send a connection request on LinkedIn, as soon as somebody accepts that connection request, you now have the ability to send them a direct message, a private message through the platform. So the workaround that I have been using, and it's been working so far pretty well, send your connection request just like you would always send your connection request, but then watch for when they accept your connection request. As soon as they accept your connection request, then you have the ability to send them that message straight to their inbox. And that is when you have the ability to now basically include the personal note that you were not able to include before. So just very quickly to demonstrate what this looks like, if you go to your LinkedIn and you click on your network tab, this is the screen that is going to load here. If you click connections, you're going to see everybody who has recently accepted a connection request with you. Now, previously, if you sent that connection request with the personal note, it would pop up in your inbox. You would be able to see from your inbox who had recently accepted. But now that you don't have that, you're going to have to go there. So again, just click on your network tab, click over here on connections. These are all the people who have recently accepted your connection request. So anybody that has accepted a connection request, now you have the ability to go ahead and send them a message directly through the LinkedIn platform. Use that as your opportunity to include your personal note, make your introduction, and start the conversation. It's the best workaround that I have been able to find up to this point, now that we are only allowed to send those 5 personal notes per month. Now, I have been playing around with, if you use a incognito tab, that doesn't appear to work. I haven't tried deleting my cookies. That has worked for some other things. So I've noticed in the past that when I get to my search limit in LinkedIn, if you go back and delete all your cookies, which is a pain in the butt, I'll admit it, but hey, if it works, which it does, it works, it's a workaround. I don't know whether that works for personal note or not, but honestly, at this point, that would be my suggestion. So there you go. That is my advice for how to work around this new change that has taken place on LinkedIn with the ability to only include 5 personal notes before you get cut off for the month. So hopefully you find that helpful. And with that, of course, the floor is open. I would love to hear what your questions are. So if you've got a voiceover business and marketing related question that you would like to ask and get answered, I am certainly here to answer that question for you. I would be happy to answer that question for you. So feel free to type your question into the comments if there's something that you would like to talk about today. Just a reminder, if you just put a Q before you type your question, that way it just pops out a little bit easier for me in the chat stream. It makes it a little bit easier for me to find your questions. But by all means, if there's something that you would like to talk about, if there's a question that you would like to ask and get answered, this is your opportunity to do that. Welcome, Tim. Thanks for watching. So what else is going on with you guys? I've been really having a lot of success with LinkedIn lately in sparking some really good conversations. I still think it's an incredibly valuable platform. I think it is one of the places where it is the easiest to get connected with people and have those conversations. I think it's still a place that is built with professionals looking to get connected with other professionals for professional purposes. And so when you are reaching out to people through LinkedIn, when you are sending those connection requests through LinkedIn, when you're ultimately talking about your voiceover services or asking about what their work is and looking for ways to collaborate with them, I don't think these things come as a surprise on LinkedIn. I think people understand that, look, that's what we're all here for. That's what they're for too. They're there to make professional connections. They're there to expand out their network. They're there to generate some more opportunities for themselves. And so it does not come as a surprise when, you're trying to do the same thing. So again, if you have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, feel free to type that question into the comments. I am certainly happy to answer any questions for you and would love to be able to, dispense some free advice on this Free Advice Friday. I mean, after all, that's what we're all here for. Don't be shy if you've got a question that you would like to ask and get answered. Here's one from Tim. It says, I am in the process of hiring someone to help me find leads, Google Medical Video Production, Spokane and such, and pop them into my CRM. What should I expect to pay per lead? This is a really great question, Tim, and this is one that I've struggled with a lot. What I ultimately found was most of the lead generators that I was interviewing and having conversations with when I was going through this process, they just asked for an hourly rate. And so I'm okay paying that hourly rate as long as we've got a general idea of approximately how many leads you're going to be able to get per hour. And even that is not an exact science because some leads obviously take a little bit longer to find and collect than other leads. And so I kind of settled in on the 10 to 15 leads per hour. I think that it is not unreasonable to expect that somebody should be able to find 10 to 15 leads for you per hour. Now, that number could potentially be a little bit higher depending on what you're looking for and depending on the tools and the resources that somebody has to use. So that's kind of what my measuring stick is. So when I hire my freelancer, if he's working for me for 5 hours a week, I am looking for him to collect me a minimum of 50 to 75 leads in those 5 hours. And I think the better you are with the instructions that you give, the more clear you are with the instructions that you give. And again, the access to the tools and the resources that person has, I think those things are really what makes the difference. So I know that doesn't specifically answer your question as far as, should I be paying a price per lead? But what I would be looking at is finding somebody who you can pay on an hourly rate and judge the success of that relationship by, are they finding me 10 to 15 leads per hour, give or take? And I think that's a pretty fair number. And for those of you that are watching live, if you are working with the lead generator, I would love to know if that is in alignment with what you're seeing with your lead generator, or if there's anybody who's watching right now, if you're, working with VA for VO, for example, and you do lead generation for someone, I'd love to hear whether or not that's in alignment with what you are able to do. But that's kind of where I set the measuring stick. So I hope that is helpful, Tim. It's a really great question. Walter says, with Google no longer doing pages, any tips on finding leads using the same search terms without endlessly scrolling back to the last result you made it to? I'm not 100% sure that I understand that question there, Walter. With Google no longer doing pages, any tips on finding leads using the same search terms without endlessly scrolling back to the last result? I'm sorry, Walter. I don't fully understand that question. If you could clarify that for me. I'm not sure what you mean by Google no longer doing pages. I mean, if I go into Google and type, corporate video production, just as an example here, I go into Google and type corporate video production. I mean, there's all the things that come up when I do a search for corporate video production. So I would literally just be going through and, click out. What you can do, just what I did there, open up in a new tab. So then you're never navigating away from your search results, but that might be something to think about. But if I'm misunderstanding the question, feel free to clarify. Can a connection request and a personal message be a substitute for cold email? Of course it can. So there's two ways that I like to look at this, and I dive much more deeper into this in my Making Money with LinkedIn Masterclass. But if I can see that somebody is particularly active on LinkedIn, that is that they're there maybe a couple of times a week, or it appears like they're there a couple of times a week, or they're there every day, then I might use that in place of a cold email because I feel like I've got a higher probability of getting a response. And on the flip side of that, the other option is to use LinkedIn as a follow-up strategy. So when you've sent out that email, then you do your follow-up strategy and use LinkedIn as an opportunity to send out the follow-up afterwards. Hey, it was great to connect with you via email. Would love to connect with you here. TJ says, are there common lead subscriptions that a lead generator should hold, making them more productive or have a greater reach? So there are some different tools that you might want to see whether or not they're using. Hunter.io is one of them. Rocket Reach is another one. Name to email is one that I've seen in the past. Zoom Info is a business database that some lead generators will have access to. Apollo.io is an incredibly valuable resource as well. So if they specifically mention that they've got access to some of those tools, that's one of the ways that you might be able to qualify the result. All right, Walter says, Google used to have results, page 1, page 2, but now it just scrolls. Okay, when I go back the next day, I don't know where I left off. I got you, Walter. Okay, I understand now. Yeah, I don't know that there's an easy workaround for that short of, I don't shut my computer off every night. I just put it into sleep mode. So the only workaround potentially for that I can think of would be just leaving your browser window open and leaving it open where you left off, and then doing what I was showing earlier. Don't click away from the page. Just open up all the results in a new window. And that might be the workaround for that. But yeah, that's a good point, actually. That would be incredibly frustrating because of the fact that it is just a continuous, endless scroll now. And I don't know. I'm sure that Google felt like there was a genius reason behind that, but I guess it depends on your application and what you're using Google for, right? But for voice actors who were using it for research and lead generation, it was definitely a lot easier to be able to do that when it had the different pages and you could click between those page results. All right, let's see. Where are we going? Hi, Angela. Welcome. David says, when training a new lead generator, how closely do you assign the ICP for them to be contacting? Do you give a broad discretion as long as it's within the vertical, or try to be specific? Wow, this is a fancy question. I think that the more specific that you can be with your lead generator, the better. It sets them up for greater success. So, for example, I don't think it's enough to just say, I'm looking for e-learning leads. I think that you want to get really specific with them for saying, okay, I'm looking for e-learning leads, but these are the exact job titles that I want to focus on. And so that's part of building out your customer profile right there, right? Is being able to say, we're going to focus this week, we're going to focus on corporate video production, and we're looking for video producers or whatever. And you're going to give them a list of job titles. I think I would say the same thing with any of the genres. The more specific that you can be about what you're looking for, the better. Because what you don't want to do is say, I want a whole bunch of corporate video production leads, and then they come back with a bunch of founders and CEOs. And founders and CEOs are not necessarily the people who are going to be working with voice actors or making hiring decisions for voice actors. And so that's where I do think that you want to be a little bit more specific in the information that you give them. And so job titles is definitely one of the ways that you can get a little bit more specific about what you are going to give them. And making sure that you're getting good quality vetted leads. Speaking of job titles, if you guys go to VOpreneur.com and click over here on the store button, here's a handy reference guide that you might be interested in. 40 job titles to connect with for voiceover. So what I did with this job title guide was I went through my entire CRM, which is several thousand contacts, and I went through my LinkedIn network, which is also several thousand contacts, and I distilled it down to the 40 most common job titles that I'm connecting with and reaching out to, and I made that guide available for purchase. So if you go to VOpreneur.com, click on the store button up here, $27, and you can get this job titles guide, and that's going to be particularly helpful for you when you're trying to decide who it is that you want to reach out to. Hopefully that answers your question, David. What type of CRM can you recommend to someone that hasn't used one before? Oh, Rebecca, the CRM question, the dreaded CRM question. I'm going to be completely honest with you, Rebecca. There is going to be a relatively steep learning curve, in my opinion, regardless of the CRM that you choose. So yes, there are a lot of options that are out there. Nimble, that's the CRM that I use and love. Cloze, CLOZE, that is another very popular CRM. HubSpot has a CRM. Zoho has a CRM. Streak is a CRM. So there's countless different CRM options that are out there. Most of them work relatively the same as far as what they're able to do. I think they all have, slightly different quirks and interfaces and all of that sort of stuff. But I definitely think there's going to be a learning curve no matter what. And so if you brace yourself for that learning curve out of the gate, it's going to make it definitely a little bit easier. I'm going to put a link in the chat here. Let me just type this out right now. Nimble.com/MarcScottVO. Nimble.com/MarcScottVO. You can go there and you can sign up for an extended trial of Nimble. That gives you the opportunity to play around with it to get a little bit of a better sense of how it works. I will tell you that it is similar to most of the other CRMs, and I've test drove a bunch of CRMs. Yes, some of them have different interfaces, some of them have slightly different features, slightly different bells and whistles, etc. But by and large, most of them kind of work the same way and do the same thing. But yes, there is absolutely going to be a learning curve that is involved. And for those of you that are interested in Nimble, again, if you go to VOpreneur.com, click on the store button. I do have a class here. This class will teach you how I use Nimble. It's about, probably about 45 minutes. It's a screen flow. It's literally a walkthrough of me in Nimble, how I set it up, what features I'm using, how I'm using those features. So it literally walks you through everything. So if you want to kind of skip the learning curve on a CRM like Nimble, then this course might be of value to you. I can also say a lot of these different CRMs, they've got YouTube channels, they've got help files and stuff like that. So you can figure them out, but just go in knowing that there is going to be a bit of a learning curve when you're getting ready to get started. So hopefully, that helps a little bit, Rebecca. Is there a reason you chose Nimble over VoiceoverView? Okay, great question. This brings up another interesting topic. So first of all, VoiceoverView didn't exist at the time that I started using Nimble. So when I have the kind of personality where I could literally spend a year of my life deep diving into every CRM option that is available and trying to figure out what the perfect one is. I have that obsessive nature about me when it comes to certain types of things. I didn't want to do that. So I needed to stop myself. So somebody gave me a recommendation. Matt Calrick actually gave me a recommendation for Nimble at a WovoCon in Vegas a number of years ago. And I made the decision at that point, either this is the one I'm going to use, either I'm going to find a way to make it work for me, or I'm not going to quit until I find a way to make it work for me, or decide that it absolutely doesn't work for me. And then I will let myself go and try something different. And I was able to find a way to make it work for me. And it does all the things that I need it to do. In 2020, when the rest of the world was searching for toilet paper and baking sourdough bread, I actually started playing around with a bunch of CRMs and doing a bunch of CRM trials. And I decided even then, at that point still, that I was happy with Nimble and it did all the things that I wanted it to do. Now, to answer the second part of the question about VoiceoverView, VoiceoverView is not a CRM. And those are not my words. I have had Danny States, who is the founder and CEO of VoiceoverView. I've had her on the podcast. I asked her the question directly, is VoiceoverView a CRM? And she responded directly, no. Danny States is also in my mastermind group this year, and we've talked about VoiceoverView at length. And again, she reiterates, it is not a CRM. It is a business management tool. It is an incredibly valuable tool for tracking your business. Where are your auditions coming from? Where is your income coming from? What are your highest performing clients? What are your best performing genres? VoiceoverView really is a tool that you would use in conjunction with a CRM. So the best way for me to explain that would be that your CRM is for your marketing, your sales and your marketing, making sure that you're maintaining communication with the right people, keeping track of the conversations that you're having, not allowing leads to slip through the cracks. That's where your CRM comes into play. And then the VoiceoverView comes into play on the business management side. Once you've got the bookings, it's tracking all of that and making sure that you're staying up to date with your numbers and also looking for the trends in your bookings, because when you find the trends in your bookings, that can also give you greater insight into where you should be looking for new clients, which you can then focus on with your CRM. So I think those two things can work in conjunction with each other. It's a really great question, and I hope that answers that question for you. Again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. If you've got a question that you would like to get answered, a business and marketing question that you would like to get answered, that is absolutely what I am here for, and I'm happy to answer those questions. Feel free to type a Q in the comments before you type your question. That way it pops out on the screen. It's a little bit easier for me to see, and I'm certainly happy to answer as many questions as I can for you. I do want to quickly, if you'll allow me a moment, to I just want to talk about VoiceOver Marketing Playbook here for a minute. VoiceOver Marketing Playbook is my flagship marketing program, and Playbook is available right now. It came out on Tuesday. It will be available until April the 11th. What you are seeing on your screen right now is actually an inside view of the course. So this is what it looks like after you sign up. And so you can see here, Playbook consists of 25 different modules. They are ranging anywhere from about 10 minutes to 25 minutes in length. So I've designed it to be really easily digestible, focusing on different principles. So for example, marketing foundations, there's one that literally explains the basics of marketing, a video about relationship marketing, uncovering your unique value proposition, discovering your voiceover sweet spot. There's one in here that talks about your ideal customer avatar. So this is all the foundational stuff, but it's still very actionable. I give you strategies and tips for how to implement this stuff. There's a second section about finding work, lead generation, outsourcing, passive marketing, doing advertising campaigns, which I've done with success in the past as well. The Mindset Matters, believe it or not, that is actually consistently rated as the most popular module in the class. And then social media, specific videos with specific strategies for LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Vimeo. And then there's 4 different modules here on email marketing, some special bonus content, as well as a special offer from Uncle Roy, who I see has joined us in the broadcast now. So that's what Playbook looks like. But if you're interested in signing up, go to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. You can get a complete overview of the course. There's the different packages. There's 3 different packages that are available. This is, again, my flagship marketing program. And I want to mention, I'm offering a very special bonus today only. If you sign up before 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, I'm going to throw in a special bonus offer, which is called 10 content strategies for your next social media post. So you saw there's a bunch of social media modules in Playbook. You saw them on the screen there. This bonus resource is going to break it down even further in giving you some themes that you could go back to consistently. So if you've ever found yourself in a position where you know you should be posting on social media, but you're not sure what to post, this guide is going to be the thing that is going to help you get over that. So when you sign up for Playbook before 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, I'm going to send you that guide automatically as a thank you bonus. So check that out at voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. Again, that's voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. I will put that link in the chat here, voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. And now we can return to our regularly scheduled programming. So let's see, where are we at? David says, in which roles do you see AI making your process more efficient? And would you want to be more effective? Content creation, analytics, editing, research, forecasting. Great question, David. I love having the opportunity to talk about this because it's a subject that some people are really sensitive about. I would encourage you to listen to the brand new episode of the podcast that I just did with Ann Ganguza, first and foremost, VO trends and AI developments. And so in the first half of that episode with Ann, we talk all about demo trends for 2024. But the back half of that episode, we talk a lot about AI, but not AI in voiceover. We talk about how voice actors can use AI to help them be more efficient in their business. And Ann shares some of the different tools that she's using, and I talk a little bit about it as well. But let me give you a couple of specific examples of where I'm currently using AI. One of them is for the podcast. I have a plugin that I subscribe to for Adobe Premiere, and that plugin, what it does is when I record my podcast, and for any of you that have watched the podcast on YouTube, you've seen it. I have 3 different video feeds for my podcast. There's the feed of just me, there's the feed of my guest, and then there's a grid feed with the 2 of us side by side. I can put those 3 feeds into Adobe Premiere, and then with an AI plugin that I subscribe to, in about 60 seconds, it edits my entire podcast, my entire video podcast. It cuts it up so that when I'm talking, I'm on the screen. When my guest is talking, my guest is on the screen. And every once in a while, we'll both be on the screen. It would take me hours to do that. And I'm using an AI plugin that does that in about 60 seconds, literally. Absolutely incredible. There probably would not be a video version of the podcast if it were not for that AI plugin. So that's one of the tools that I'm using. And I know that your next question is going to be, what is it called? And my response to you is going to be, I can't actually remember the name of it because I have been using it for so long. Autopod. That is what it is called. So that's one way that I'm using AI. I also use Riverside.fm to record my podcast, and Riverside.fm comes with some really impressive AI functionality, including transcription, suggesting shorts. Here's where to edit to cut up a really great short. It also, now, one of the newer features of Riverside is it gives me a complete summary of the podcast that I can use for my show notes. And so that's fully AI generated. And I'll be honest with you, my show notes were not great in the past. Mostly it was a time thing. The time that it would take to write really great show notes. With this new plugin, with this new AI technology that's built into Riverside.fm, I'm getting incredible show notes for the podcast. ChatGPT is my brainstorming companion. I use ChatGPT to brainstorm videos. I use ChatGPT to brainstorm social media posts. I use ChatGPT to brainstorm courses and things of that nature. Here's you know what? Let me give you another example. I have a second YouTube channel that I've recently started on the voiceover side. Okay, so the channel that you're watching this on right now, this is for the coaching side, but I've got a second channel that I've started on the voiceover side, and that channel that I've started on the voiceover side is obviously for voiceover. I am attempting to use that to generate some voiceover work. So a genre that I'm really passionate about is documentary and docuseries. one of my career goals is to be a narrator for a series on something like Discovery Channel or PBS or History Channel or something like that. So these videos here that you can watch here, let me just play one. Let me click one and play it. I think this will work. I don't know. I'm assuming you guys can hear this. I won't make you watch the whole thing. But anyway, so I'm creating a series of videos. Here's another one. So I'm using ChatGPT to help me write these videos. And then I am narrating these videos and putting them together. I guess you guys couldn't hear them. I apologize. Anyway, the point is, I don't know why you can't hear that. You should be able to hear that. But anyway, I'm using ChatGPT to write these videos. So I go in and I tell it exactly what I'm looking for, and it writes the videos for me. And that way, I don't have to do all the research that's involved or the script writing that's involved, because that's not my thing. I can't do that. I apologize that you guys couldn't hear the audio on that. I'm not sure why that's not working. But anyway, not the point. The point is, this is another way that I'm using AI. This is another way that I'm using AI to help me to grow my voiceover business by creating this content, creating these videos that I think showcase my ability to do narration, different styles of narration. Each video has a different feel. Each video has a different type of narration to it, kind of like a demo. But this is content that I'm creating for this other YouTube channel now. And I've already had one person watch one of these videos and reach out and offer me the opportunity to audition on a job. But this channel would not exist if it wasn't for AI, because ChatGPT is writing the scripts for me. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use AI as a tool for your voiceover business. And certainly it can help you to be more productive in all the different things that you are doing. So I would certainly be looking into that. If you guys want to watch here, let me just put this up here. I'll throw the link in the chat here. You can go back and watch it later if you want, but there's a link in the chat to that YouTube channel. Apparently I need to look into my software because it's supposed to just automatically share. I have it all set up, but whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, so yes, lots of different ways that I think that you can incorporate AI into the different things that you're doing for your voiceover business. Angela says, how do you follow up after calling a lead, but they give you a non-working email? Would you call again and let them know, or what do you suggest? Certainly I think that there's nothing wrong with, you had success on the phone the last time, so I don't think there's anything wrong with making another phone call this time around. You could also try to search up their email on using the internet, using tools like Rocket Reach or Hunter, for example, hunter.io. That would be a potential way to find their email address. Or that could also be an opportunity to use a tool like LinkedIn, for example, and sending a connection request via LinkedIn. So that's something else that you can try. Thank you guys for your questions. If you do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, please feel free to type it into the comments. Anything business and marketing related, I'm here to answer those questions for you. The only thing I would ask is if you could just put a Q before your question. It just makes it a little bit easier for me to see in the chat stream, because then there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat stream. Things are flying by very quickly. That's all I ask, is if you can do that. All right, here we go. Are your other YouTube channels linked through a same email, or are they separate accounts for marketing your VO channel? Is it similar to Reels demo marketing techniques? Yeah, so YouTube gives you the ability to add accounts. So you have your main Google account, right? And then you can add YouTube channels to your Google account. And so that's why I can switch relatively easily. I just click up here, the corner icon, and it gives me the ability to switch accounts. And there you got VOpreneur by Marc Scott, and then Marc Scott Voice Actor. And so, yeah, that account this YouTube channel is connected to my main Google account. And it's pretty easy to add that second channel. My strategy as far as marketing with it, again, I'm creating these videos. I'm creating them as shorts. I've played around with 60 seconds and 45 seconds. some slightly different types of narration, just to see what hits. The best video that I've done so far was my solar eclipse video, which, just totally jumping on a trend with that one. But the solar eclipse video garnered just over 3,000 views, which, that's more than I get on a lot of my content. And so I'm pretty happy with that. Some of my other videos there, 400, 800, 500. It's just an experiment right now. It's an experiment. I give you guys advice all the time, right? I share tips. Try this, do this, give this a shot, use this form of social media, try this type of content. I'm not just telling you guys that stuff for the fun of it. I'm telling you guys that stuff because these are the same things that I'm playing around with and I'm experimenting with. When I started this YouTube channel, I had 3 of those videos created and I uploaded all 3 videos. And in the first weekend, I had an inquiry for an audition. Coincidence? I don't know, but it seemed like it was working. And now I've got these videos that I've created, so I share them on YouTube and I let them run on YouTube. And then a week or 2 later, I can share them on Instagram. The week after that, I can share it on LinkedIn. Week after that, I can share it on TikTok. So, I'm creating content. These videos are not just going to get used once. These videos will get used multiple times. I can share them across multiple platforms. And on LinkedIn in particular, because I've put a real push on connecting with documentary filmmakers, documentary producers, showrunners for some of the different networks that I want to do work with. Because those are the people that I'm building my network with, my thought process is that if I'm sharing some of these videos that demonstrate my ability to do these types of reads, that those are the types of people that are going to see them. And hopefully that opens up a door to another conversation. A lot of it is just experimental at this point. If you only have an hour a day to spend on marketing, what would you concentrate on? Good question. I think everybody has different things that they resonate with differently. And so that's what makes this tricky. I could tell you to focus on email, because I think it's where you can probably get the most bang for your buck in an hour a day. But if you absolutely hate email and only want to do in-person networking, then maybe it's better off if you find in-person networking events that you can go to. Granted, you can't do that every day of the week. But the point is, we all do marketing in different ways. And the beautiful thing about marketing is that there's not specifically one right way to do it. One person will do email. One person will do LinkedIn. One person will create TikTok videos. Somebody else is going to do cold calling. Somebody else is going to do in-person networking. But I would say if you only have 1 hour a day, what I really want to be looking at is, in that 1 hour, how do I get my demo in front of the most people possible? Maybe that's sending out 10 or 12 emails every day for an hour, contact 50 people in a week. Maybe that's creating some kind of social media content like the videos that I was just showing you on my YouTube channel, if that's what works for you. But it really just comes down to, how do I get people to hear my demo? I'm a big fan of email. I still think it works. It's one of the areas that I still focus on every day. But I also spend time on LinkedIn every day, and I spend time making YouTube videos now. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. But if I only had 1 hour a day, I would just try to be figuring out where I can get the most bang for your buck. And I think that that is probably some combination of potentially email marketing and maybe some social media content. If you've got questions, again, don't be shy. Feel free to type your question into the comment. If I have missed it, I apologize. Don't be afraid to post it again. Here's one from Tim in a cold email. It would be nice to include recent bookings, but I have done very little medical stuff so far. Omit it and add it back as I pick up work, or include non-medical bookings. Tim, actually, this is a really interesting question that you asked, because I actually never talk about my bookings in my email. Because what difference does it make to Google if I recently did a job for Microsoft? Like, they don't care. The only thing they care about is how good of a job you're going to do on their job. So I have never included bookings in my emails. Well, I shouldn't say never. Maybe there's been 1 or 2 times where I have, where I'm really, if for a very specific purpose. But for the most part, I do not include bookings in my emails. That's something where I'm counting on them going onto my website. And when they're on my website, they can find out a little bit more about me. Maybe that's going to include recent bookings or a client list. Maybe that's going to include a couple testimonials. I personally think that testimonials add more value than a list of bookings do. And so if it's possible for you to get even one or two good testimonials, I think that in and of itself can make a big difference. What else can I help you guys with? What other questions do you have that you would like to be able to ask and get answered? If you're enjoying the live stream, by the way, please make sure you hit that thumbs up button for me. I would certainly appreciate that. That helps me to get just a little bit more love from the YouTube gods, and hopefully a few more people will find these videos and get some of the helpful information that comes from it. So please just hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. There's a bell icon that you can click as well. That will notify you for when I am going live for Free Advice Friday. So keep an eye out for that as well. Let's see. Let me look at my calendar. Free Advice Friday for the next couple of weeks. I mean, I do have it on my calendar, but I got to be honest with you. Free Advice Friday for the next few weeks is going to kind of be hit and miss depending on whether or not or when my wife has a baby. The baby is due very soon, a couple more weeks here. So we'll be playing it by ear, but I will certainly try to do live streams whenever I can. Alan says, realistically, what are realistic expectations and how receptive are prospects, client, or contacts that you're emailing cold? Are they really interested? I mean, that's how I built my business, Alan. You got to start the conversation somewhere. Every single person is a cold lead until you start the conversation somewhere. And so you might choose to make a cold call and try to warm up the conversation that way. You might choose to connect with somebody on social media and get to know them first, and you could warm up the conversation that way. But at the end of the day, it's all the same. Every conversation starts cold. I think what really matters is that you're demonstrating how you can add value. When I send an email, or if I were to send an email to a video producer and say, hi, my name is Mark and I do voiceover and I would like to be able to do voiceover for you, I don't think that kind of cold email is going to land. But if I can warm up a conversation with a video producer, talking about their work and how I think there might be opportunities for us to collaborate, that's a totally different kind of value proposition. And so I think a lot of it has to do with how you word your cold emails and the things that you write in your cold emails, the way that you approach it. So always be thinking about how you're going to add value. How can I demonstrate to this person that I can add value? How am I going to make their life easier? How am I going to make their work better? How am I going to make their job more fun? Whatever it is, how can I add value? I think that's what you need to be thinking about. Shana says, hey there, love using the combination of Nimble and VoiceoverView. And really, that's the way that those two things were meant to kind of work together with each other, Nimble and VoiceoverView. I think they can work hand in hand. Great episode of the podcast with Shana from a couple of weeks ago, by the way, guys. If you haven't seen that one, flip back on the YouTube channel and look that one up. She talks about vocal health. It's actually a podcast that you would be better off to watch that podcast than specifically downloading and listening to that particular episode. If you head to the YouTube channel, here it is right here, Vocal Care, Protecting Your Moneymaker, Vocal Warm-Ups. This is a crazy, watching what Shana does with straws, but let me tell you something, as goofy as it looks and as goofy as it sounded, and she will attest to this, when I did it at VO Atlanta, I made it through the weekend without losing my voice. So go back through on the YouTube channel after this live stream and check out that episode if you haven't done it already. Really great episode of the podcast. What else can I answer for you guys? What can I help you with? Don't be shy. You know what? Going back to something that we touched on earlier where I said testimonials. Testimonials are one of your best marketing tools. VOpreneur.com/testimonials. Go to that link. VOpreneur.com/testimonials. This is a free guide the VOpreneur Guide to Testimonials. I literally offer up like a dozen different tips for how to collect testimonials and use them in your marketing efforts. So if you are not doing, you know what? I just realized that this link is spelled wrong. Oh my goodness. I got to fix that. VOpreneur.com/testimonials, but spelled correctly. Oops. Here, let me put the link in the chat. VOpreneur.com/testimonials. That's embarrassing. Hey, we're live. What can I tell you? Grab that guide. I think it will be really helpful for you in collecting some ideas for how to collect testimonials, but then also how to use them in your marketing. I know it's been a few weeks. Nice background. Love not seeing the nail holes. Okay, I have a confession to make. I've actually I rearranged my office at Christmas. I actually turned my office the other way. So this, I dropped the camera. This is how I previously sat. Can you see there? Can you see the drywall patch? Oh, drop the camera again. Welcome to live TV. I turned my office around at Christmas because this little spot back here is where the Christmas tree was for the 12 voiceover gifts of Christmas. And I actually decided that I just liked it like this. And so I actually decided to keep it this way. But believe it or not, yes, this wall over here beside me, it does not have holes. It's been patched. And I even have the paint for it. I just need to sand it down and then get it painted. But yes, it's a work in progress. It is a work in progress. And guys, this is a prime example of accountability because Julie was coming on the live stream and she was talking smack for several weeks in a row. She was poking the bear with her little jabs about my holes, my drywall, or my holes in my drywall. And so after a while, I was like, I can't take this anymore. I got to get this fixed. And so it's a work in progress. Like I said, paint's upstairs, just needs one more quick sand. Then we're ready to repaint that wall and good to go. And all of the holes will be patched up. But that is accountability. That's how accountability works. You poke somebody until they finally do the thing, which is, really, is that not basically what I do every week here when we're hanging out on this live stream? So again, if you've got a question, don't be shy. Type it into the comments, put a Q beside it. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions for you that I can. Anything business and marketing related that I feel like I've got a good answer for anyway, I'm certainly happy to do that for you. So just type it in the comments here. Tim says, in a cold email, is it wise or unwise to try to describe my voice? Mature, deep, reassuring. I think that you can use a couple of little descriptors like that, and then it might be the thing, particularly if you've got a really unique voice. But I think that it could be a way that you could prompt them to want to go and listen to your demos, right? Ultimately, my objective is to get people to go listen to the demos. My belief is that if my demos are good enough, great, my demos will do the selling for me. So if I can get them to go and listen to my demos will do the selling for me. That's always how I've thought about it. So if you can give them one more reason to want to click through and listen to your demos and then let your demos do the selling, I say, why not? All right. What else, guys? What can I answer for you? What can I help you with? Don't be shy. If there's a question that you would like to ask and get answered, I'm certainly here to do that. Again, don't forget to check out the new episode of the podcast with Ann Ganguza. If you are thinking about recording a demo this year, or if you're questioning whether or not it might be time to record a demo, I definitely think there's tons of valuable information in this episode. Ann talks about some different trends that she sees and what she's paying attention to and the things that she's incorporating into the demos that she is making this year. And Ann produces a lot of really great demos. She's an award-winning demo producer. And then we also talk about a bunch of different ways that we as voice actors can incorporate AI into our workflows. So it wasn't just like so much of the AI conversation in the voiceover industry right now is about the robots taking over, synthetic voices, blah, 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 right? That's not what we were talking about. Well, we were talking about how to use AI, how to turn it into a partner or a teammate or a virtual assistant. And, I talked earlier, I'm using it in a lot of different ways in my own business, and it's been particularly helpful. So something to think about. Again, what else can I answer for you? If you've got a question, type it into the comments, put a Q beside it so that it pops up on my screen so I can see it a little bit better. What do we got? We got about 10 minutes left. I got time to answer a couple more questions. What would you like to talk about? What can I help you with for Free Advice Friday? Anybody got anything? Or you're all good? You've asked all your questions. You've got all your answers. There's nothing left at this point. Oh, here we go. Liz has got a question. As a follow-up to your chat with Tom Deere, what's an overview of your daily workflow? Oh my gosh, I do not have a consistent daily workflow. Legitimately, I do not. Because I never know how many different sessions I'm going to have on any given day from a coaching standpoint. And so I kind of work around that. So my focus right now for the last while has been more about what are the 3 top priorities for the week? And that's where I start. Now, if all 3 of those priorities get knocked off on Monday, then I can work on something else. But if Monday ends up being a crazy day and I don't get a whole lot done, then at least I know where I'm starting on Tuesday. So I kind of work in that way now, just because my schedule is so much more unpredictable. But I can tell you that, previously I was a very big fan of time blocking, and I still do time blocking in certain instances. When I'm working on something new or working on something big, I will still do time blocking where I take a chunk out of my calendar. I'm not available to be booked for coaching or anything like that. And I just focus on whatever task or project is at hand. But I definitely would not say at this point that I have a routine daily workflow. It's kind of fit in the stuff that I have to fit in and fill in the blanks in between, which is not specifically ideal, but I've found ways to make it work for me. How much value do you put in going to VO Expos? If you can't attend all of them, can you put the money into something else that is valuable? I think that there is tons of value in going to voiceover conferences. So, talking about VO Atlanta, One Voice, Mid-Atlantic Voiceover Conference, the Vocation Conference. I think that there can be tons of value in going to those from an educational standpoint. I think that's what you should be going to those for. That's not to say that you can't have fun, see your friends, do some networking, whatever, but you're not typically going to these conferences to get work. You're going to these conferences to learn so that you can hopefully create opportunities for yourself to get work. Where the value can come in for some of these conferences, take VO Atlanta, for example. What's a ticket to VO Atlanta? I don't even know. $500 for VO Atlanta? Well, most coaches right now are charging, give or take, $200 an hour. So if you want to work with a reputable coach, if you want to work with Uncle Roy, if you want to work with Everett, if you want to work with Ann, J. Michael, Mary Lynn Wisner, all these different coaches, Dave Walsh, any of the big name coaches, Tom Pinto, you're going to spend, I'm going to guess, about $200 an hour on average. Maybe more, maybe less. So you could go and do 3 hours of coaching for $600, or you could spend $600 on your ticket to VO Atlanta, and you could get access to 12 or 14 hours of sessions all day long with some of the best and most respected coaches in the industry. Now, granted, those sessions are not going to be the same as a private one-on-one coaching, but you're still going to learn a ton from those sessions. I also think that you can go with a particular goal in mind. I'm going to go to VO Atlanta to focus on commercial. I'm going to go to focus on narration. I'm going to go to focus on gaming, whatever. You could literally spend a weekend just immersing yourself in that world with some of the best, most respected, reputable coaches that exist in that world. I keep saying VO Atlanta, but the same goes for any of these conferences. For One Voice, for Mavo, for Vocation, for all these different events that are taking place. So that's where I think you get the value from voiceover conferences. It's incredible access to a fire hose of information in a relatively short time for a relatively small investment, comparatively speaking. That being said, if you don't need to learn right now, or you don't need to learn at that level or that scale, then what if you took that money and you bought a ticket to a conference in a genre that you are looking to work in? So for example, if you're an audiobook person and you went to an audiobook conference, or if you're an e-learning person and you went to an e-learning conference, the advantage to that is now you're getting in front of your buyers, and you're probably one of only a handful of voice actors in the room. Gives you an opportunity to stand out a little bit. So I think there's a place for both approaches. I think it just depends on what your objectives are. That's my take. Rebecca says, speaking of AI, have you heard of any updates regarding the ability to protect your voice work online? Just as illustrators with Glaze becoming available soon. I mean, Tennessee was the first place to pass legislation, which was the Elvis Act. I know that there are several other states that have things in the works right now. So I think stuff is happening. I would say your best bet for that is keeping up with Nava. Nava is going to keep you on top of all of the different developments that are happening in that space, because they are working tirelessly to make sure that voiceover is being considered and that we are being treated well. Russian Grammar, yep, I'm thinking of going to DevLearn in Las Vegas later this year. I mean, maybe you don't need to go and sit in on all of the sessions, obviously, but even if you got an exhibitor pass and you got to walk around in the exhibitor hall and you got to meet all of the different companies that are there, many of whom are creating e-learning content, it's a really great way to make yourself stand out when everybody else is sending emails and you are right there in their face, shaking their hand, handing them a business card, whatever. I think there can definitely be value for that. And so that's why I'm a big fan of taking those kinds of approaches. So definitely be thinking about, where are my buyers and how do I get in front of my buyers? That's the question that I'm always asking myself. All right, I got time for one more question. While we're waiting for that question to pop up, again, let me just remind you, VoiceOver Marketing Playbook. This is the course that is going to teach you how to find your own leads, build your own client base, and become the consistently working voice actor that you want to be. There's content in there specifically on lead generation. There's content in there for writing better emails and what goes into a great email and templates that you can use. There's tons of content for social media. And by the way, guys, this is actionable content. I'm not talking about fluff and rah-rah. I'm talking about do this, say this, look here, contact this person. Like, I'm spelling it out for you in VoiceOver Marketing Playbook. And again, if you sign up before 7 o'clock tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, I'm also going to include that special bonus, which is 10 content strategies for your next social media post. So voiceovermarketingplaybook.com is the website, voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. You can find out about the course. These are the different packages that are available. Tons of testimonials here from people who have taken the course in the past. Lots of social proof for you. But check it out at voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. All right. Anybody got one final question? Thank you for hanging out as always. I certainly appreciate you giving your time and spending your lunch hour, or, if you're on the West Coast, I guess you're not eating lunch yet, but you know what I'm saying. Appreciate you spending some time and hanging out. I always enjoy doing these, and I hope that you always get value from them, that you walk away with some new tips or tricks or, strategies that you can try that will help you to grow your voiceover business. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about for me. I want to help you. I want to help you to grow your voiceover business. And I think that collectively, the better that we are at running our businesses, the better chance we stand at showing the true value of human voices and making sure that we've got longevity in the industry. Bill says, if I purchased the playbook long ago, do I still have access to other parts within the site? Bill, you have access to the whole playbook, including the most recent version of it. Once you sign up for VoiceOver Marketing Playbook, you always have access and you will always get the updates, which is a really great way for me to cost myself probably tens of thousands of dollars in sales, but I don't care about sales. I care about helping you grow your business. So once you sign up, you will always get access to updates. And so, Bill, you will now have access to Playbook 3.0. Which is 1 or 2 versions ahead. I can't remember I remember when you bought it. It was a while ago. I can't remember if you got in on Playbook 1 or Playbook 2, but you'll now have access to the latest version as well. So if you need assistance in getting access, Bill, fire me off a quick email and I'll make sure that you get set up. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. As always, I'm going to go back into this video and add chapter markers. So if you jumped in late and you want to be able to revisit some of the stuff that we talked about, some of the questions that were asked and answered, you'll be able to do that very easily with those chapter markers linking to specific parts of the video. So come back, watch again later. Outside of that, you know how this goes. You know, whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and of course, as always, go find some leads.